Fourth trip to Guyana, but I was especially looking forward to this one. Unlike my previous visits, which were largely confined to conference halls, hotel rooms, and brief walks about the capital, Georgetown, this one would be different. This was a familiarization tour organized by Caribbean Airlines and the Guyana Tourism Authority. The 3-day trip included an Essequibo River tour and visits to Kaitra and Orinduque, and that would see me flying over miles of largely untouched rainforest from the capital to the border with Brazil.
That's Brazil.
Yeah?
Yep, and this is Guyana.
Wow.
There was also a walking tour of the capital with dinner prepared by a chef who picked up his guitar and his singing voice after setting aside his pots, pans, and crockery. We began on what opened as a rainy October Monday morning, which saw us having to take 2 buses and a river shuttle because of a damaged bridge. But soon enough, we were aboard the speedboat that would take us on our journey of what our guide Jamal Thomas called the mighty Essequibo. The captain made a quick check with the guide about whether the commute should be at the usual throttle, and we were off.
You can go easy. I go.
Hey, you
Go,
do
go.
stuff, you do.
As the largest river in Guyana, the Essequibo has a long and winding journey of over 1,000 miles from the Acarai Mountains near the border with Brazil to the Atlantic Ocean. The river contains 365 islands, some of them larger than many oceanic islands in the Caribbean. About 20 minutes later, and we were at our first stop.
Hey everyone, welcome to Fort Island.
Fort Island is about 3 miles long and about a mile across. Between 60 and 100 people live on the island, and they are mainly engaged in farming and fishing. Electricity comes from solar power and diesel generators. The island is also home to Fort Zealandia, one of the youngest Dutch forts in Guyana, constructed in 1744.
This structure that we have behind us here was actually a wooden structure before. This was actually set up for war. But in the event of wars, then with a wooden structure, it wouldn't have served much purpose, because if the cannons would have hit it or the cannonballs would have hit this fort, it would have came down very fast. So the Dutch decided that they're going to put clay bricks and make the walls at least about 30 inches thick with the laying of those clay bricks. It's roughly about 15 to 20 miles in from the mouth of the Essequibo River.
Word to reporting from Guyana, Fort Island. Hope you all enjoying the weather over there as well as over here. It's pretty hot here, but we still enjoying our homeland. Thank you, and see you all when I come back to Toronto. Bye.
You know this thing, right?
Yeah, I was telling him why. Actually born and grew here. We used to go to school. We had one school. It was actually like a community high school. It was from Prep A to Form 4. It was an experience living on the island because it was so recreational, because when you get out of school you can just stop and pick fruit on the way, or you can just go by the riverside and take a nice cool off shower. So now I live in South Carolina, and I came for my niece's wedding, and I said I had to come visit this island. Lots of memory coming back, flooding back. My dad had a big farm here, so lots of memory. So all of our siblings are here with my mom, and we're just walking through, having a good time.
It brings back a lot of childhood memories, but a lot of things has changed from the time we were living here, you know. Actually, all the people that was here while we were living here has moved out. So it's like a new generation of people move into the area here. Yeah, but it's nice to be here. Yeah, I found this. I went through all the swamps, I went through the mud, I fastened. I had to push my hand way down in the hole to get my slippers out. But it was all for you, my baby, so here you go.
Thank you.
It is as hot and humid as it gets. I mean, I'm from St. Vincent, a tropical island, and it gets humid around this time of the year, but this is another level of humidity. But what I can tell you, it is worth every second of it. A really wonderful experience. Fort Island is also home to the Court of Policy, which currently functions as the Dutch Heritage Museum.
So these are the 3 tombs that we have here. You have Michael Roth, which is the doctor. You have Joanna Baker, which here, he was a lieutenant in the Armenian force. All right, and this is a child. Now the child here would have only died at about 10 months, born in the year of 1767 and died in the very next year, 1768, in September. They used to be here within these courtroom sessions and so on, as I said, you know, sending off the slaves. And then you have ways in which some of them were tortured and punished. I actually have some recordings of the years that they came in, how many ships came in, and also how many of the enslaved Africans were on those ships. So from here we're actually headed down to have a little viewing of Eddie Grant's home, and then from there we're going into the mining town called Bartica, which is the gateway to the interior, and they call it the city of El Dorado, or the heart of El Dorado.
We were back aboard our speedboat for what was supposed to be a 40-minute ride to Bartica, our next destination. This trip took us past the riverine island home of Guyanese British singer, songwriter, and multi-instrumentalist Eddie Grant.
Welcome to Eddie Grant's home.
How much longer do we have to go?
If you look straight across the river up in front, like in that same angle, that's Bartica right there. It's like 10-15 minutes.
We've been at it for 40 minutes already.
Yep. But I did see 40-45 minutes, right?
You did kind, sir.
Half a turn, I'll be done.
This here is Bartica. Bartica has a different sun.
It's cooler.
It is, no, this here, the sun is in Georgetown and the father is up here. So it's going to be quite a tad bit more hot. Very hot.
Bartica began as an Anglican settlement in the 1830s and was also an Amerindian settlement. It gained township status in 2016 and is considered a gateway to Guyana's interior. Our time in Bartica was spent largely on the boardwalk where we refreshed ourselves. I also had the chance to try stewed wild pig and was amazed at how succulent the meat was. But it was even more amazing watching play out on the river, scenes that can only be found on the sea in my archipelagic home, St. Vincent and the Grenadines. After our pit stop in Bartica, we reboarded our boat for Slot Island, where we had lunch. Slot Island is 155 acres of mostly pristine rainforest and has rental accommodation for stayovers. After lunch at Slot Island, neither Claude Benjamin, the guide and manager, nor any of us had any luck in locating a snake he said had caught a parrot earlier and was relaxing somewhere in this tree. However, we were all delighted to see more than one slot.
Oh, yeah, I see it. Yeah.
My camera lenses did not allow me to get as close as I wanted. Yes, his head is turned back towards me now. We left Slot Island for what I had hoped would have been the highlight of the trip. There was a short walk inland. So this morning when I left the hotel and I heard about a waterfall, this is definitely what I was thinking. So I came here prepared with my towel and all of that, trudging about with this bag and come here and everybody's so disappointed. So hopefully tomorrow we'll have a waterfall where at least I can go in and get a little water massage. Notwithstanding my disappointment about the waterfall, the 75-minute boat ride back was soothing as we closed out the first day of our 3-day tour of Guyana. We reboarded the shuttle, got on the bus, and went back to the hotel. In 2 days' time, Guyana would prove that when it promises a waterfall, it indeed can deliver. Kenton Chance, Eyewitness News, Georgetown, Guyana.